For the pattern, I took an old pair of sunglasses and popped the lens out and just traced around that, and then I just made a few minor modifications to it to make the pattern. Once I drew it out, I then cut it out with a pair of scissors and used double-sided tape to stick it down to a piece of cardboard, and then trace that out. Be sure to flip the pattern over and use the correct side, unlike I did the first time. Here I'm using a scrap piece of 5 to 6 ounce veg tan. And I'm just tracing the pattern out with a pencil here, and then just using an ordinary box cutter to cut this leather. Now that I've cut out my leather, I'm tracing a border around it with a pencil that I'm then going to cut with my swivel knife and make a border around this eye patch. And just double check the size. This is a concho that I got from Tandy. I thought it was fitting for this project. These have a screw in the back. You just take the screw out, and then we're just going to place it where we want it, press down, and that's going to leave a nice imprint for the round punch that we're going to use. Here I'm using a 3/16 inch round punch for the concho. And now we bevel. Make sure to strop your beveler. And then we're just going to take some plain water and a sponge and wet that down and let that sit for a minute before we get started with our swivel knife. And now I'm going to take my swivel knife and cut a border around the edge there, and we're going to then texture the inside of this. And then I'm going to take a smooth beveler and just bevel around the insides. This is a background stamp. This is a set of 3. This is the middle size, I think. Set of 3 background stamps that I picked up from Tandy. I really like the little texture that it makes. Now I'm using a 1/8 inch round punch, and this is for the eyelets. We're going to have a couple eyelets in this eye patch for our elastic to go through. And then what I'm doing here is I'm making leather washers. And that's going to fit right over the screw post of the concho. Now we're going to take some red dye. This is 5-inch Pro Dye red, straight out of the bottle. Here I'm using a dauber. I usually use an airbrush to dye my leather, but since a lot of people don't have an airbrush, I thought for the purposes of this video I'm using a dauber. Then I'm going to take, this is medium brown antique. I'm going to antique this and then put a coat of a tan coat over it to seal it up. And now I'm going to dye the edges black with a dye marker. I've tried a lot of different ways of dyeing the edges of leather, and I really like these dye markers. Then I'm going to take some gum trag, and I'm going to burnish with gum trag. And what I like to do, I burnish once with gum tragacanth, and then I go back over it with beeswax, and I think it leaves a nice edge. Next, I'm going to wet the leather because I'm going to be doing a little bit of wet forming on this. So I'm going to wet the leather then because I want this to be slightly concaved. I'm going to wet form it a little bit. And then I'll put tokenol over top of that and burnish it with tokenol and a glass slicker. And now I did cheat a little bit. I used a heat gun here. I was just going to wet form this, but then I remembered heat kind of makes the leather curl up a little bit, and that's kind of what I want. So it worked out pretty well. It made it nice and concave. Or is it convex? And to set the eyelets, I'm just using a regular eyelet setter. And here we're going to attach the concho. And now that we've got our hardware attached, there's only one thing to do is to attach a length of elastic. And our eye patch is all done.